class, so I'll just give you a brief about what we have done earlier. Okay, so here it is. Oh, why we are studying this topic is the point is to understand that history of communication research doesn't have a chronological sequencing to it. यहाँ पर कोई series तरह से development नहीं है. You don't see that okay fine, you have developed the fire, now you can go about having a proper system of cooking. You can have the range, and then you can go about changing into something like electricity, induction cookware. So you do not have a pace to go with a step by step programming. Here you have a kind of a history which is messy, which is chaotic, where people have been talking about the same thing again and again. And why it has happened? Because every time you see a new technology in the field of communication, people they go back and they ask the same question: is this technology going to affect people? Are they going to become the tool of this a particular technology, or are they going to use it? So these questions, how the technology will be impacting people, how they will be using the technology, how it's going to change the way the society, human society exists, these questions have been very similar to all of the technologies which have been there, which have been developed by people gradually over the period of time. So what we see is that with formal starting of means of mass communication, especially with the newspapers and films, people they started using these technology for their own benefit. And the benefit started from the point of view of the industrialization and the urbanization. When these two things they started, people they started manufacturing products, people they started creating cities, and urban areas started developing. There started a phase of mass society. This mass society, you can understand this term with the idea that people were becoming more close to each other, more interlinked to each other, they were more dependent on each other, but they were detached in the sense that the idea of empathy, the idea of emotional connection was missing. People were connected because they needed to do certain kinds of activities in the society, fulfill their roles, so that they'll be earning money. They have to go to job to the factories and offices, they'll be working from day to night, and then they will get money so that they can buy the products which are there in the market. So this change in technology, both of the transport and the communication and the way the urban cities were developing, people they started becoming more detached. People they started becoming more, you could say, commodified in terms of their working. Even the products of mass communication was becoming more like a commodity. It was not something like which we had earlier, a more religious scripture to read, a more traditional dance form, music form that you can see for your entertainment and for your cultural closeness to the place where you live. It was becoming a commodity which has been packed into a message given to you using print media or TV or films, and you have to consume it and you have to pay for it, so that the people, those who rule, those who own the means of communication, they can have the benefit. All these things which are happening, the change of culture into commodity, the change of closed societies where interpersonal communication and group communication was more in fashion, it was changing into mass communication. So you're sitting in your place, you're sitting in your village or maybe in your city, and you know what is happening in the most extreme corner of the world. How do you know it? Mass communication is giving you all the information. So these changes have been taken very differently by different people, especially the researchers. So we have talked about the changes. Now the idea comes of how people were taking it differently. So we had talked about different ideas here. Sociologists like Ferdinand Thonis and Theodore Giger, they were of the idea that we are missing the sympathy, we are missing the consanguinity ties. Consanguinity ties means that you belong to the same father, you belong to the same god, and that is why you have this emotional connection which is keeping you close. So people, they started missing this connection. People, they started becoming more aloof, more isolated, more lonely. They had the means to make their life comfortable, they didn't have the connection which was earlier there. But they were better informed, they knew what is happening around. So people, they had positive ideas about this all kind of activities going on, people had negative ideas about it. Together, this entire change was, uh, you could say, phrased as mass society. Why mass society? Because mass is a term which you give to heterogeneous group of people. You could say huge group of people, big number of people, where you don't know who is there behind the curtain. You don't know them, you don't know which region they belong to, which religion they belong to, which class they belong to, which caste they belong to, which race or color they belong to, which language they speak. Do they they have the means to access the communication or not? They can speak the language or not? They can read it or not? You don't know anything about it. You are just packing your message and you are serving it to them like a commodity in the market. So because of these changes, the mass term was added to the another term, that is society. It was more like a prefix to the term society. So this mass society, there were group of people which viewed it as positive. They thought that when people will have more of information, when they will know about what is happening around, the democracy will exist in a true sense, and people will choose politicians, choose government officials which are the deserving candidates, and those who will be governing the entire society, entire nation properly. But people were skeptical also, few of them. The researchers were skeptical. Why they were skeptical? Because they have seen what was done with mass communication, means of communication in the world wars. So they were skeptical. They were skeptical that those who have power, those who own the means of communication, they will be using it for their benefit. They will be making films to gain more support. They will be using the idea of nationalism, patriotism to attract the supporters. They will be using the idea of religion, and just by using these ideas, the people, the masses will be exploited, they will be used, they will be manipulated. So they were not viewing mass communication as something which is positive. They were viewing it as a tool in the hands of those who want to exploit people, as a tool which will change culture into commodity. So two groups came into picture. One is Chicago school, which was extremely positive about mass society. Another was critical school, which was extremely critical about mass society. And whenever you say mass society, generally people take it into negative terms, because those who were critical about this term, they were more expressive about it, they were more vocal about it. They started writing papers, they started writing articles, they started taking seminars, conferences, and telling people that you have to be more more attentive, more conscious about what media is serving, and you have to filter it down before it reaches to people, to common masses, and before it manipulates them. So these two schools were in picture, and what they were talking about it, what they were researching about it, they were researching about the power of media. And this is the time when you get the theories like hypodermic needle theory, magic bullet theory, propaganda ideas, because all these things, they talk about media being extremely powerful. And then this extremely powerful media, how it treats audience, it treats audience in terms of being passive. Passive means here that you are talking about media, you're talking about what media is serving to people, but then you are not paying attention to the fact that audience could also use media for its benefits. So this idea of audience being actively using media was not there. People were so much influenced by how the means of mass communication has been used by different nations, different countries, especially political leaders during World War, that they were just talking about media being extremely powerful, media inserting information into people's mind like a bullet, like a needle. And that is why you have this needle theory and bullet theory. And somewhere around the same time, you had this person Harold D. Laswell, although a very learned